Mr. President, can you tell us what you plan to do regarding sanctions against China for its pending actions against Hong Kong? And do you also intend to put restrictions on F&J visas for students and researchers coming into the United States from China?
Your question's early. We're doing it now. We're doing something now. I think you'll find it very interesting, but I won't be talking about it today. I'll be talking about it over the next couple of days, John. Okay? But it's a very important question. Yes, please. Anybody? Yeah, please.
Mr. President, two questions about a couple of things you've tweeted about in the last few days. Were you meaning to criticize Vice President Biden for wearing a mask yesterday? And can you explain why you've been tweeting about a conspiracy theory that has been proven to not be true?
No, Biden can wear a mask, but he was standing outside with his wife, perfect conditions, perfect weather. They're inside, they don't wear masks, and so I thought it was very unusual that he had one on. But I thought that was fine. I wasn't criticizing him at all. Why would I ever do a thing like that? And your second question was? I couldn't hear you. Can you take it off because I cannot hear you?
I'll just speak louder, sir.
Oh, okay, good. You want to be politically correct. Go ahead.
No, sir. I just want to wear the mask.
Go ahead.
The second question was about your tweets about the woman who died, who you're suggesting that Joe Scarborough was responsible.
Yeah, a lot of people suggest that. And hopefully someday people are going to find out. It's certainly a very suspicious situation, very sad and very suspicious. Question, please.
I asked you not to tweet about it anymore, sir.
Mr. President, though, have you seen the letter that was written by her husband begging Twitter to delete your tweets, talking about how hard it's been for his family, for him to deal with that?
But I'm sure that ultimately they want to get to the bottom of it, and it's a very serious situation. I also saw a clip with Joe and Imus where they were having a lot of fun at her expense, and I thought it was totally inappropriate. No, it's a very suspicious thing, and I hope somebody gets to the bottom of it. It'll be a very good thing. As you know, there's no statute of limitations, so it would be a very good thing to do. Okay, who's next? Any questions on insulin? Yeah. Please.
Mr. President, there's a bill in Congress that's related to the Uyghurs. It passed the Senate. It's going to be up in the House. Are you willing to sign that?
We're taking a look at it very strongly. They're going to report this afternoon. I'll be looking at it this afternoon.
Something special that you mentioned on China, does that include sanctions?
No,
it's
something you're going to be hearing about before the end of the week, very powerfully, I think. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Is there any reason why someone who does not have diabetes would take insulin? Is there any sort of medical reason for that?
I could ask that question to anybody like to discuss that. Do you want to discuss it? Please, go ahead. Do you know the answer? Either one of you or both. Come on, let's get these highly paid executives up here to give the answer. Seema? Please, Jerome. We picked a good one. We got it right.
Well, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
And I think it's important for everyone to know that, as Tracy Brown highlighted earlier, 1 in 3 Americans is actually either diabetic or pre-diabetic. And I would encourage folks to go to diabetes.org/risk-test. So diabetes.org/risk-test to find out if you are at risk for diabetes. As far as insulin goes, we know that, again, 7 million people actually are dependent on insulin. We know that from a type 1 diabetes standpoint, 1.6 million Americans have type 1 diabetes, and most all of them are dependent on insulin. Your body, Mr. President, actually makes insulin endogenously, and people such as you and I, we make our own insulin. So yes, we do utilize insulin, but we make it ourselves. Other people who have diabetes oftentimes need exogenous insulin made by many of these great manufacturers here so that they can be healthy and live long and successful lives. And make no mistake about it, if they can get affordable insulin, they can live a long and healthy life. And that's what we're here for today. Today is a very important day. It is a monumental day because, Tracy, we've been working for years to try to address the price of insulin. For years. This is an important day, and I want to thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank all the people here for making that insulin affordable to more people.
Thank you very much. And Tracy, do you agree with that? And The question I found to be a very interesting one, but is that an unusual question or an unusual circumstance? Right. Okay, good. I thought it was a very good question, actually. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. We see in Europe slowly from one country to the other, they are opening their borders and letting people going from moving from one country to the other. Are you considering, for the good of the U.S. economy, are you considering lifting the flight ban from Europe in the next weeks?
Well, we're just putting a ban on, as you know, going on immediately, essentially, almost immediately, to Brazil and from Brazil into our country. So from Brazil to the United States, they're having a very hard time in Brazil. We'll be doing certain announcements on other countries, including Europe, as we move along, and where they're making progress, we'll start to open it up, but only where they're making progress. They're making some good progress. I think we're making very good progress. We're making very good progress on the economy. The numbers are better than anybody would have anticipated. And certainly I think that's been reflected in the stock market, which had a very big day, and it's over 25,000. And when you think 25,000 is a very high number, when you think that it was at 29,000, and now it's at 25, that's a very big day. It's up very substantially over the last 6 months. So we had a very big day, but people are seeing what's happening. They're seeing there is a pent-up demand, as I was predicting, and you're going to see it more and more. We call it the transition to greatness, and it really is. We're going to have a third quarter that's going to be good. We're going to have a fourth quarter that has the potential to be really good, and we're going to have the best year, one of the best years we've ever had next year. That's what we see. Yeah, John, go ahead.
Mr. President, is it your intention to bring American forces home from Afghanistan by Thanksgiving Day? And is the Pentagon drawing up plans to that effect?
Well, I think everyone knows we're down to less than 8,000 troops. We're with leadership in many different fields and in many different parts of that country. We're dealing with the Taliban. We're dealing with the president. The president now has gotten themselves straightened out with the two presidents, but we're dealing with, because they had, as you know, they had competing factors and factions. Yeah, I think we're there 19 years. We're really not acting as soldiers, we're acting as police. And we're not sent over there to be policemen, but we're there 19 years. And yeah, I think that's enough, and they understand. We're having very positive talks. We want to bring our soldiers back home. We want to bring them back home. And we're not only talking about there, we're talking about other countries also. We bring our soldiers back home. We can always go back if we have to. If we have to go back, we'll go back, and we'll go back raging. And there we'll go back as warriors, fighters. But right now we're policing, and we're not meant to be a police force. We're meant to be a fighting force.
Is Thanksgiving Day the target?
No, I have no target, but as soon as reasonable. Over a period of time, but as soon as reasonable. We're down to 7,000 some odd soldiers right now. And in Iraq, we're down to 4,000 soldiers. So we're making a lot of progress. In Syria, you remember, John, on the border, when I took the soldiers out of the border, everyone said, oh, that's so terrible. Well, I spoke to President Erdogan yesterday of Turkey. The border's been fine without us. They've been policing that border for 2,000 years. All of a sudden, we had thousands of soldiers there doing their work for what? Guarding Syria and Turkey on a border, a very long border? No, we want our troops back home. We took them out. That was a year ago. I was criticized. Nothing happened, except they're watching their own borders now. We kept the oil, but at some point we'll take care of the Kurds with respect to the oil and get out. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Mr. President, quickly, on your meeting with Governor Cuomo tomorrow.
Yeah, he's coming in.
Can you say what you're going to be discussing? Do you have a particular agenda? Do you think you'll discuss the Gateway project, the Hudson River
I would
Tunnel
imagine
project?
we would, but he asked for the meeting, so we'll see what he wants. But he asked for the meeting. Governor Cuomo, and we'll be coming in sometime tomorrow. Yeah, please, go ahead.
What can you tell us about the documents reportedly declassified by Rick Grinnell just before he stepped down as DNI? Are you prepared to release the transcript of the Flynn-Kislyak conversations?
Yeah, I'd like to hear it, too. I mean, I'd like to hear it. The FBI, as you know, said that he didn't lie. And certainly the conversation, almost regardless, it was a good conversation. He was allowed to do it. And the Mueller people, who have been proven very bad things they did, very bad things. A lot of bad things are being found out about the hoax. Greatest hoax in the history of our country. And it was an illegal hoax and a very dangerous hoax. And a lot of bad things have been found out about Mueller and the gang. So I would like to hear that conversation. Yeah, I would like to hear it personally. So whatever they want me to do, I'll do. I think Rick Grinnell has done an incredible job. And things are happening now that I always knew this was the answer. This was an attempted coup by a bunch of dirty cops and others. These are dirty cops, dishonest slime bags. All right, yeah, question? Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, on Friday you announced that you wanted governors to reopen churches and synagogues and mosques, and you said you would overrule them if they declined to do so. Can you explain what authority you had in mind when you said that you would do that?
I can absolutely do it if I want to, and I don't think I'm going to have to because it's starting to open up. We need our churches and our synagogues and our mosques. We want them open. Churches, synagogues, mosques, and other. We want them open, and we want them open as soon as possible. Now, I can tell you, I know a lot of pastors, a lot of rabbis, imams, and they want to take care of their people. They want to take care. They don't want anyone getting hurt or sick, and they're going to take care of their people. We need these people. We need people that are going to be leading us in faith, and we're opening them up. And if I have to, I will override any governor that wants to play games. If they want to play games, that's okay, but we will win. And we have many different ways where I can override them. And if I have to, I'll do that. But we want our churches and our synagogues and our mosques, etc. We want them open. Now, there may be some areas, by the way, where the pastor or whoever may feel that it's not quite ready, and that's okay. That's okay, but let that be the choice of the congregation and the pastor. John, go ahead.
Mr. President, how long will you give North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper to provide you with the information that you and the RNC are asking for before you decide to look elsewhere for a venue for the RNC convention in August?
Well, as you know, we don't have much time because we have to know that if we're going to spend millions of dollars on an arena, we want to be in North Carolina. I love North Carolina. I won North Carolina. We just had two races that we won recently for Congress in North Carolina. Two very big races that the press didn't want to report on. If we would have lost them, it would have been the biggest story in political history. But we just won two races. It's a very important place to me. I love North Carolina. In fact, my son, Eric, and Laura named a baby Carolina and came from, I think, both, but she was born in North Carolina, as you know, Laura. So it's a very important place to me. But at the same time, and I think the people understand this, we have a governor that doesn't want to open up the state. And we have a date of August, in the end of August. And we have to know before we spend millions and millions of dollars on an arena to make it magnificent for the convention. And we have tremendous people. I mean, the economic development consequences are tremendous for the state. We have to know that when the people come down, they're going to have the doors open. Now, if the governor can't tell us very soon, unfortunately, we'll have no choice. This has nothing to do with us. This is between the governor and North Carolina and the people of North Carolina. But the people want it, and we'll have to see whether or not the governor. Now, he's a Democrat, and a lot of the Democrats, for political reasons, don't want to open up their states. So we'll see if that works, but I don't think it will. I'd love to have it in North Carolina. That was why I chose it, Charlotte. But we're going to see. We're going to see. And at the end, we need a fast decision from the governor. He's going to have to, because he's been acting very, very slowly and very suspiciously, but we'll find out. All right, question, please.
So in terms of soon, are we talking a week, 2 weeks, a month?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a very short period of time. It's a massive expenditure, and we have to know, I would say within a week. That certainly we have to know. Now, if he can't do it, if he feels that he's not going to do it, all he has to do is tell us, and then we'll have to pick another location. And I will tell you, a lot of locations want it. But I picked North Carolina because I do love that state, and it would have been a perfect place for it, and it still would be. But he's got to say that, when thousands of people come to the arena, that they'll be able to get in. Does that make sense? I mean, we'll spend millions and millions of dollars on this magnificent design. But in the end, they have to be able to get in. I don't want to have it where we get there and then they announce, after all the money was spent, all the work was done, all the people travel in, guess what? You can't put anybody in the arena, or you can put a tiny number of people in the arena. We can't do that, John. Yeah. Please, go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
There are now still more than a dozen states in this country where case numbers are rising. So why is it suspicious if a governor says, look, we don't want to move that quickly. We still think we need to shut down?
Oh, I think it's fine. They have to do it. Look, the governors in certain ways have to do what they want to do, but they have to tell me what they're doing. And when it comes to churches, etc., they will be overridden by me. When it comes to other things, and, many other things, they won't. If I think something's being done incorrectly or wrong, I'm going to do it. But you have different governors, and they have very different views on where they are and where they're going. So we'll see what happens. Please, go ahead.
I'm sure you saw the images from over the weekend of people out on Memorial Day weekend. They were crowding pools, crowding boardwalks. Do you have any message for those people?
Yeah, always be safe. You want to be safe. We're opening up, but you want to be safe. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. About mail-in voting, you've been speaking out against that a lot.
You mean mail-in voting?
Yeah,
Not
you've
ballot.
been speaking a lot about that.
Yeah.
Why should somebody who is afraid of getting coronavirus, going to public places, standing in a line, etc., why should they
First
not?
of all, yeah.
Why should they not be allowed to do mail-in?
Well, that's going to be in a long time from now, number one. It's quite a ways away, number one. But when you do all mail-in voting ballots, you're asking for fraud. People steal them out of mailboxes. People print them, and then they sign them, and they give them in. And the people don't even know, or they're double counted. People take them away. They force people to vote. They harvest. You know what harvesting is? They take many, many ballots, and they put them all together, and then they just dump them, and nobody has any idea whether they're crooked or not. Look, you do mail-in voting. Now, it's another thing to do absentee voting. Or if somebody has a medical condition where they go through a process and they get an absentee ballot, that's okay, that's different. But in California, the governor is sending millions of ballots all over the state, millions, to anybody. People that aren't citizens, illegals, anybody that walks in California is going to get a ballot. We're not going to destroy this country by allowing things like that to happen. We're not destroying our country. This has more to do with fairness and honesty, and really our country itself. Because when that starts happening, you don't have you have a rigged system. You have a rigged system, and that's what would happen. So mail-in ballots, and the governor of California did better than I could ever do in terms of explaining. When he sent out, or will send out, and I don't know, I think it's maybe partially already done, millions and millions of ballots to anybody in California that's walking or breathing, many of those people don't have the right to vote. Well, they'll be voting. And you know what? We're not going to let it happen, because you're subverting our process, and you're making our country a joke. And the Democrats are doing it because, in theory, it's good for them, although last week we won two big races. We won in Wisconsin and one in California. California 25. We won a tremendous race in California. That was interesting, because at the end of the race they brought in the Democrat governor, same governor. He brought in voting booths, not mail-in voting booths, because they were losing. They saw that through the ballots. But no, you can't do that. You can't do the mail-in ballots, because you're going to have tremendous fraud. And remember what I said. They'll be grabbing them from mailboxes. They'll even be printing them. They'll use the same paper, the same machines, and they'll be printing ballots illegally. And they'll be sending them in by the hundreds of thousands, and nobody's going to know the difference. We can't do that. You want to vote, you really have to. Absentee is okay. You're sick, you're away. As an example, I have to do an absentee because I'm voting in Florida and I happen to be president. I live in that very beautiful house over there that's painted white. So that's okay. And it's okay for people that are sick and they can't get up, something. But voting is a great honor. It's a great honor. And people love to go out and vote. And I want to keep it that way. And if we don't keep it that way, we'll have nothing but a rigged system in this country. We can't do that. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.